I see, still getting ready. We'll give her a minute. Our next speaker will be Diana Hutchinson, giving us a speech from the Persuasive Speaking Manual, Cold Calls. Paula, what are her objectives?
Her objectives are, under conquering the cold call, learn a technique for cold calling of expensive products or services. Recognize the risk buyers assume in purchasing. Use questions to help the buyer discover problems with his or her own issues or situation. Successfully handle the buyer's objections and concerns. Time, it says here 10 to 14 minutes, and I think you're going to give us a breakout of that.
Okay, yes, I am. I didn't actually read the intro, sorry. This project is to work on the selling skills of the cold call. The first part is a 3 to 4 minute speech.
This is be the fun part for you.
Yes. Okay. I'll bring you this piece of paper. 3 to 4 minute speech on the process of cold calling. Secondly, Diana will give a 2-minute introduction of the role-playing scenario. Next, Diana will lead a 5 to 7 minute role play. The project also calls for a 2 to 3 minute group discussion at the end. Diana is initiating a fundraising committee for the Centennial Children's Chorus, a regional choir for 3rd through 8th graders. In the choir's 36-year history, nearly all of the funding has been through singer dues. With parent volunteers, a frugal leadership culture, and nearly volunteer choir directors, the choir has changed many lives. Diana would like to expand the funding base in order to increase staff pay and add more scholarship opportunities. Her goal with this project is to practice the skills to initiate conversations with potential sponsors about setting up new methods for supporting more methods of support for Centennial Children's Chorus. Please welcome Diana.
Good morning. I'm going to start with sharing some information about my sales process so you know what you're looking for when you're watching the role playing in a couple minutes. So I'm going to share the buyer's thought process, what's unique about cold calling, talk about a stepwise sales strategy, and then how I want to be during the sales process. So first off, the 5-step thought process as described by Norbert Aubuchon in the Anatomy of Persuasion. First, the buyer has to identify a need. They have to realize that the need is important enough to actually get up and act. Then they need to search for solutions, evaluate their options, and finally make a decision. Now, what's unique about cold calling is if someone's coming into a store, they've already decided they have a need, they've already decided it's important enough to get up and get to the store. So in that matter, the salesperson is trying to talk to them about their need, but they've already realized that they have this need. In cold calling, it's totally different because I am initiating the contact. This other person maybe has never even thought about this need. So I have to help them discover that they have a need. One misconception about selling, and it's kind of presented this way in the manual, is that with a cold call, you're going to make your sale all in one. Oh, thank you. You're going to make your sale all in one happening. Like, I'm just going to go, I'm going to come, like, hey, what do you do for your printing needs today? And we're going to walk away at the end of that. He's going to be buying my new printer. Really, I think good selling happens over multiple times, and it takes the pressure off to realize that I don't have to do it all, and especially not in 5 to 7 minutes for my role play. What is a stepwise strategy I'm going to be using is basically 4 steps. So step 0 is preparation and research. I need to find out about this person that I'm contacting and how might they have a connection with what I'm trying to sell them. In this case, sponsorship for my organization. Then the first step is, when I meet them, is the introduction. And that's what I'm going to be role playing today, is just that introductory step. I want to build rapport. I want to help her discover a potential need and get her agreement that there's enough connection that we should meet again for an exploratory discussion. When we meet again to have that discussion, that's when I'm going to explore how important is it, how do they do their budgeting and approval process. At that point is when I can actually share solutions or possibilities and decide how we're going to get to that final commitment or decision. But so for today, my only purpose is to get agreement that we have enough in connection that we should meet again for an exploratory discussion. Finally, how I want to be during the sales process. I'm looking to be friendly, curious, credible, and patient. So those are things to be watching for. Now, let me run into the role play, what I'm going to be doing for the role play. So for my choir, I was thinking, well, other people who supported the arts would be good to target. And so I saw Kaiser Permanente was one of the supporters of the Canyon Concert Ballet. So I thought I would approach them. And then I researched Sarah Rice is someone I found. She's a community relations coordinator for Kaiser. And so in my scenario, Sarah is going to be someone that I'm going to be talking to, and she's agreed that I could stop by for a 5 to 10 minute conversation, introduction, and to talk about the impact they want to make in the community and whether it makes sense to have a follow-on exploratory discussion. That, I will move this over here so you can keep it in your mind. Well, I am talking with Sarah, so.
Diana, hi.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for agreeing to meet with me today.
No problem, I have a few minutes. So, how can Kaiser be of interest to you? I hope you're not
Yeah.
ill.
Oh, no, no, not at all.
Okay.
Actually, I'm a big fan of Kaiser. I actually was a member of Kaiser when I was in high school, growing up in Denver. So I kind of watched Kaiser over the years with how they have such a focus on the community and making an impact
That's my job, I like that.
on the community. Yeah, what got you interested in Kaiser?
Well, I mean, community relations and community development, and I'm fairly new with Kaiser myself. But yes, they do have a great track record, a lot of years in things of this sort, mostly in larger metropolitan areas. It's so fun to be able to come to northern Colorado now. We're really, really hoping to make an impact here.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I noticed in your job, it seemed like you do a lot of education. Is that part of
Yeah.
your role?
Kaiser is huge on education. With education, we can help people understand much more effectively their own health, their own wellness, and so that's an important aspect for us.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was kind of fun. I was reading something about a theater education program with a big emphasis
Yeah.
towards kids.
Yes, indeed. Kaiser does that now, as I say. They don't necessarily have a huge theater program in this area, northern Colorado, but yes, throughout the company, I know that there are things of that sort that occur.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much, have you ever heard of Centennial Children's Chorus?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've lived in the northern Colorado area for quite some time. So, yes, indeed, I've been to 1 or 2 performances
wow.
with some neighbor kids.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it was very, very good. A great program.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if what you're doing with the community and what we're trying to do with educating children and helping them with building creativity and then also just building that sense of community, is that the kind of thing that fits in with what Kaiser is trying to do?
Interesting. Typically, we focus on wellness and health and things like that, but of course, good breath, I know you need, and the creativity aspect. There are some components that kind of make sense for vocalizing and singing and things like that. Of course, if anytime you get your voice out there,
Right.
you're going to be in better health anytime you have a word.
Yeah, well, and I also think of it as building mental health, and
Yeah.
we do some choreography, so kids are actually getting movement as part of this and learning how to build this into their everyday lives. Well, I think that there might be enough of a match that we could continue the conversation. Is that something you'd be
Yeah,
willing to?
I don't have a lot of time today, but, you
What-
know, could you get something together to present? I'm the community relations, but of course, it wouldn't be a decision just for me as to whether we did anything. Could we set up a time to look at more of a presentation with one or
Absolutely.
two of my superiors?
Yes, absolutely. I think if we had a half hour to sit down and talk about your needs and how some options with what we do, how would that work for you?
That would be fine. You know, as you go out, my secretary has my schedule. We'll look for a half hour
Okay.
somewhere. Can we give it 2 weeks?
Oh, that'd be perfect.
See, there we are. Kaiser, we have a baby.
All right, thank you very much. So nice to
Thank
meet
you,
you.
Diane.
Appreciate your time. All right, now you can stay up here, or you can sit back there, as we have our discussion about, did you see these sales strategies and this way of being in action? And how did you feel about our interaction?
I felt like it was fine. I wanted more information right away, but I also knew that I had to be kind of on a schedule, that I couldn't just, that Sarah had to be on a schedule. Chris was like, oh, tell me more. And Sarah had to say, I can't do that yet.
Uh-huh.
So, well, I thought it went well. Yeah, it went well.
And I know we'll have our round robin later, but having our discussion as part of the manual project.
You were friendly and courteous, credible and patient, so you had all that. You had good interaction, but I think Sarah was already interested, but it did feel like you needed more information. It felt like more was on her part than on yours, but I think that was a little bit of Chris coming out there at Sarah.
That happened there, yeah. Yeah.
All right, any other comments about the cold call process? Okay, I'm gonna return control to our Toastmaster.